Jason Ayto and Ross Wilson have been confirmed as the two leading candidates for the role of sporting director at Newcastle United following the departure yesterday of Paul Mitchell. So, who should get it out of the two leading candidates? Or should Newcastle United, as an alternative, appoint from within? Let's look at both candidates in a bit more detail in today's video in Newcastle United's search for a new sporting director. A very good evening, everyone. I hope the start of your weeks went well. Thank you so much for tuning in, as always, to the Magnificent Mags channel. As usual, if you do like this video, please drop it a like and subscribe to the Magnificent Mags YouTube channel by turning on those notifications, and they'll drop in your inbox when the latest videos are uploaded. And please drop a like to all my socials as well, and do the same for my friends at NUFC 360, Magpie 24/7 and Magpie Ultras. So after Newcastle United announced Paul Mitchell's departure back in May, yesterday, after less than a year in the role, Paul Mitchell has departed the club as Newcastle United's sporting director. And now we're into July, and the burden has been placed on three people. One, manager EddieHowe. Two, head of recruitment Steve Nickson. And three, EddieHowe's nephew, assistant Andy Howe. And the people who have been appointed in the search for Newcastle United's new sporting director are recruitment specialists Nolan Partners. So you might ask, the role of a sporting director, why is it key and why might we need one? Well, the key to recruitment strategy, and also this is such a massive window and we need one appointed because when it comes to recruitment, off the back of arguably our best season as a club in modern history, we ended with trophy drought by winning the Carabao Cup at Wembley. We ended with domestic trophy drought, and for the second time in 3 years we've qualified for the Champions League. So getting those key players we need for those positions we need to strengthen, which has been well documented. We need a goalkeeper who's good with their feet, that's the modern style whether we like it or not, a right centre back with pace, we need a right winger and another striker who can step in or be versatile across the front when Alexander Isak can't play every game next season. So who would the leading candidate be replacing as well? Well, obviously we know that's Paul Mitchell. His track record was impressive when he come into Newcastle United. He'd worked at Tottenham Hotspur, Southampton, Monaco and Red Bull Leipzig. But one of his first comments when he came in was criticised the recruitment policy. He said it wasn't fit for purpose and would overpaid on players like Alexander Isak, Bruno, Sandro Tonali, Nick Pope and Anthony Gordon. And now we all know at a hierarchy level as well, like in the boardroom, there's a lot of instability at the moment. So getting this sorted would give obviously the club, from a leadership perspective, some clarity and vision. The knock-on effect of this is the club have said until a new CEO is appointed, they're not going to think about appointing a new sporting director. So obviously that's being held up at a hierarchical level by Darren Eales. He's still there at the moment. Eales was obviously instrumental in appointing Paul Mitchell. He'd worked with him previously at Tottenham, but Eales, obviously for health reasons, we all hope he makes a full recovery because his health's the most important thing, and that he goes and rests and takes time with his family and close friends. But until a replacement announced for Darren Eales as CEO, then we're not going to have a sporting director. So this leaves it very unsettled at the top. So as I said, we need to get this sorted from both positions at the moment to give with clarity and vision, and then we know who's in place, and then that's not a distraction, so we can focus on the recruitment side and also the areas like giving new contracts to key players. Now, who are the leading candidates for the role? Well, the Telegraph revealed this morning that Arsenal's ex-interim sporting director, Jason Ayto, was the leading candidate for the role. However, while I'm recording this video this evening, Craig Hope has revealed that another candidate is in the frame. Now, there's two leading candidates and the other one is Ross Wilson. So I'll just go through both of them. Jason Ayto, he was at Arsenal for 10 years. He's very experienced. He was known as Eddie's right-hand man. Mikel Arteta, when he was interviewed, said it wasn't just Eddie who was responsible for some of their key signings to make them challengers in recent years, but it was Jason Ayto. Now, when Eddie departed, Jason Ayto went for the role as sporting director. However, he did miss out in the end to Andreas Berta, so he left the club at the end of May. But like I said, there was 3 candidates in the frame. As I've said, Jason Ayto was one, Nottingham Forest sporting director Ross Wilson, and the other one was Julian Ward, who was Liverpool's technical director. However, as I've just said, as Craig Hope revealed earlier, Julian Ward's now out of the frame. So I'm only going to concentrate on Jason Ayto and Ross Wilson. Though I can say that a fan opinion of someone who's already at the club, if we're wanting an internal appointment, to make consistency and transition as smooth as possible, would be our current head of recruitment, Steve Nickson. However, with Craig Hope revealing that Ross Wilson and Jason Ayto are the 2 leading candidates, it does sound like, although he's been working towards his qualifications, Steve Nickson, it does sound like the club are not considering him at the moment. Now, the main duties and responsibilities of our new sporting director would be, I think, 3 areas. Obviously, one would be player recruitment. The second would be offering new contracts to existing key players, the main one being Alexander Isak. And then the third would be our long-term strategy. Jason Ayto first, he's got a modern data-driven recruitment model. He's praised and respected in many circles of football when I've read some articles on him. Especially his signings, they've been very smart. And this window is a massive signing. Arsenal have got Martin Zubimendi above Liverpool, who are obviously Premier League champions. He's got 10 years at a massive club in Arsenal. That's Premier League experience. And also, although he's not had the role full time, he has stepped in when Edu went away before he was beaten to the role, as I said just before there. So he has had some experience as a sporting director, albeit in an interim role. So looking at Ross Wilson of Nottingham Forest, he's got Premier League experience, that's key, so he doesn't need to transition. He's also been a full-time sporting director, so although Jason Ayto's got some experience, he was in the interim, but Ross Wilson's done it full-time. And now, I just want to caveat this, I'm going to read out Nottingham Forest signings since the summer of 2023. He came in the April of 23, and these have been their signings since. I'm not including this window, but just summer 23 and 24. And I'm going to list some of Forest's key signings because these are brilliant, because we know how well Forest have done. They were third for most of last season before they fell away due to probably business end experience not being there. But I've noted them down because there's so many to remember, but I'll read them off here. So you've got Ibrahim Sangare, Alex Moreno, Milinkovic, Morato, Murillo, Elanga, Tavares, one Elliot Anderson. Can he bring him back here if we do get him? Ola Aina, Matt Sells, Chris Wood, and Callum Hudson-Odoi. So those signings, honestly, they're fantastic. We all know that. Obviously, they'll need to build on that because it wasn't quite good enough for Champions League. But they've turned Forest from a team who had only got promoted in 2022-2023, who survived, and then they built on that. Albeit, yes, they got a small points deduction, but you know what, I don't blame them for that because we know PSR's a farce after Aston Villa yesterday selling the women's team to keep themselves PSR compliant, but that's for another day. But the main questions for these new sporting directors are, can they work in our Newcastle United structure? Obviously, we're part owned by the Reuben brothers, mainly Jamie Reuben, but then you've also got PIF, who are majority owners after both ownerships increased their stake after Amanda Stavely and Murda Gadusi left. So obviously you've got that hierarchical structure. Can he work with EddieHowe? Well, he's proven for 10 years he can work with managers at Arsenal. He proved he can work with Mikel Arteta, who was nothing but eulogising about him. And also, can he work autonomously? You want to hope so, because you don't want someone coming in who's asking things all the time or needing to learn the ropes. So that's where it may swing it in Ross Wilson's favour. So as I've discussed, the timing and process, well, we know that Paul Mitchell left yesterday. The club announced it back in May. It was the 30th of June. We're now on the 1st of July. So he's gone. But like I've said just earlier in the video, the burden's now on Andy Howe, Eddie Howe and Steve Nickson to deal with the recruitment process in the meantime. But another stumbling block, as I also mentioned, is the club said they're not going to appoint a sporting director till the new CEO is appointed. But it's all quiet on that front because until this hierarchical structure's in place, then that could be what's holding up transfers. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping they've went, look, we'll give everything to Andy Howe and Steve Nickson, and it doesn't hold up with transfers, because obviously there's players there in the likes of a link with James Trafford, Anthony Elanga, Scalvini. So we've just got to wait and see in this. I just really hope it doesn't affect transfer policy. So my analysis and predictions, well, Piffle wants someone who can come in and invest well, but be financially disciplined and savvy with the money, because unfortunately, whether we're like it or not, we're in this daft PSR world. Will it be an internal candidate like Steve Nickson? Do you promote from within so that continues the stability, continuity, and you don't need to get him up to speed or get used to the ropes of the club because he's worked here for years, he knows the club inside out? Or do you bring someone like a Jason Ayto or a Ross Wilson in from outside who can come in and bring fresh ideas and a fresh mindset and fresh vision to the club? We'll wait and see on that. And a key point is the need to be able to work with Eddie Howe. But the main thing of this is we just need some clarity soon. We need to announce who's going to succeed Darren Eales as CEO. When he's in place, we can then get with sporting director in place, and then we've got structure in the boardroom. It's a settled boardroom in terms of the hierarchy. Then when it comes to the new sporting director's first transfer window, well, that's this summer, we hope it is, if they can come in and just work with the current team of both Howes and Nickson to get with targets. But we need to be concentrating as soon as possible on getting with targets, because that could be what's holding it up. But when it is their first window, they'll be scrutinised. We'll watch the signings carefully, so it'll be a kind of litmus test for them. So before I wrap up the video, I'm going to put the question on yous. Yes, the viewers. I'm loving the interaction on all my videos at the moment, so please do comment. I want to know, who do you think should get the role as sporting director? Do you like the external candidates in Jason Ayto and Ross Wilson? Or do you think the club, for stability and continuity, should just go, look, Steve Nickson's proved himself before, just promote from within. He knows the inner workings of the club, he knows it inside out, so why bring in someone else? Although, as I've said, as a counter argument, the external candidate could bring in fresh ideas and a fresh vision. Or another perspective, do the club even need a sporting director? Do you think they should appoint Ayto, Wilson or Nickson? Or could you not care less? Should we just continue with the current trio of Eddie Howe, Andy Howe and Steve Nickson, and just make sure we'll get with signings in? Then once the window's done and we've got the squad going for this season, then we can worry about appointing a candidate in the middle of the season. Let the hierarchy take care of that once I've got a new CEO. Do you think this whole new sporting director talk is just a distraction and it's holding up with signing new players that will leave a weekend going into a big season with 4 competitions and up against Europe's elite? But that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. I might do another video later in the week on the appointment of a new CEO. I'll do some digging, see if there's any names being touted as Darren Eales' successor, but a lot of leaks have been plugged at the club, so I'll only go off what I can find. But I'll do some digging, see if it's worth talking about, because obviously, as I've said, a new sporting director can't be appointed until the CEO is in place. So it might be a video where I can do some exploring on that. It might be worthwhile, but I'll have a think about that. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Again, if you like this content, please drop a like to all my socials and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you'll get that little notification number popping up when my videos are uploaded. But I hope you all have a fantastic week and take care. Bye-bye for now.